Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on this episode of Flying High. D Muse here with QP. How are we doing today, Q?
What's up, brother? I'm doing well. Just kind of excited to start this technically new cycle.
Yeah, cycle 22.5, I think is what we're calling it. Kind of a culture shock, but I'm liking life in Las Vegas more than I like life in Minnesota, so it's not all bad. Um, but yeah, thanks for joining me today. I think we worked through the technical issues we were having. So we have a couple
Yes, sir.
topics today, and we'll go ahead and get started. Don't want to waste the people's time. So we talked about how we just started a new cycle, which means we had a new team draft. And for some that was good, for some that was bad, for some it didn't really matter. But I wanted to talk through the best and worst QB user marriages that you see on the new shakeup of the SML. So I don't know if you want to start with your worst or your best, but anywhere you want to take it, go ahead.
I got a few people for my worst. I'll stick with the homers first. I'm going to go with Fig as Mac Jones. He's a Patriots fan. I don't know if he's a real fan in real life of Mac Jones, but so far this year, not doing too well. He's not passing the ball too well. Under 190 pass yards a game. His touchdown to interception ratio is 4 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. His QBR is 71. And he's averaging 8 yards a pass. So you can kind of tell like his throw power is probably something in the back of Fig's mind, especially because we know he likes to air it out and go deep with those seam routes and deeper routes with the tight end. So I think that it's probably in the back of his mind. It's not working clearly because he's throwing a lot of interceptions, and then he's probably checking down on the ones that he's not throwing clearly by only getting 8 yards. And my second one, I'm going to go with somebody that people wouldn't usually pick in this category, and I love this guy, so sorry, but I have to just kind of keep it real, and it's going to be Jordan Love. Completion percentage is nice, and obviously we all know Faz is a phenomenal passer. Last year with Josh Allen, he did some crazy numbers, like 46 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, almost like what you did with Russell Wilson. I'll put that little plug in there for you. But Jordan Love, also a guy struggling. 4 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Also a QBR that's pretty low, 81.9, and his yards per attempt also low, 9.3. In the SML world, obviously that's low. In real life, that's pretty damn good. But I'm going to say Faz with Jordan Love. I know he's going to pick it up, but to start, it's not where we would expect a guy like Faz to be passing the ball.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out Russell Wilson. I agree with everything you just said, and I have a couple shaky marriages here. Don't know if they'll lead to divorce or not, but just don't seem to be matches made in heaven. And I'm going to go ahead and start right out with the GOAT here. He went from having the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. I know he leaned a lot on that rookie running back that he had, but it was a good passing attack. It won him the AFC in year 2 before you so eloquently defeated him. But Carson Wentz and these Indianapolis Colts, bit of a downgrade in terms of offensive weapons, no doubt. And he's not doing terribly overall. He's putting up 29 points a game through the first 4 games. He's sitting at 2-2. But he's coming off of an 8 interception performance against Mike. If you took that out, the stats wouldn't be that bad, but that's not really something you can just take out of the stats. I know he teased playing Josh Rosen a bit in the chat. I don't think he'd be much of an upgrade at the position, but that's definitely a QB user relationship that I'll be watching. I have faith that he'll be able to pull it out. He has the track record for it, and I don't think Wentz will necessarily be the quarterback there very long, but early on it's not looking great. And I mean, I'm not making any surprise picks with my 2 that are struggling here, but I'm gonna go with Matt down in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. And before we restarted, it was all about how quarterbacks don't matter. Dwayne Haskins is fine. I'm just going to run the ball. And then Matt takes a team because of Trevor Lawrence so that he can air it out. And right now, he's 1-3. He has a 5-12 touchdown interception ratio. I know there's a lot of talk about Trevor Lawrence's release in the game, and I can't really speak on that and if that's what the issue is. I know Matt says he's not a great passer, but he hasn't been. There are worse passers in the league. I'll say that. There are people who have done way worse with a lot less than Matt has previously, but I don't know. If it's the throwing motion, it's not really going to be fixable moving forward, but I don't know. I know that their weapons aren't the best, but early on, the early returns on Matt kind of changing gears and moving towards a more pass-heavy offense are not going great. So those were my bad. I played you with Lamar Jackson, and that was kind of hell. So that's not going to be fun for the cycle, I don't think. But another one that I want to point out for good is Monty with Joe Burrow so far. They're putting up 29 points a game. They're 3-1. He's completing 77% of his passes with Burrow, which there's some arm strength limitations there. So high completion percentage is a pretty good sign. 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions isn't great, but after seeing what Spooky did with Burrow in the first iteration of this SML, I think Monty might have more success developing him down the road and turning him into a player that will stay on the Bengals and kind of lead that team.
Yeah, I think that for me, the good player would be probably, surprisingly, Jalen Hurts. As much as I've seen him on the trade block and not trade block, but being talked about being replaced, and that he doesn't like this guy, he's got a really good numbers. He's got 74 completion percentage, 12 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. He's throwing 273 yards a game, so he's moving the ball with a crazy 15.5 yards per attempt. So for the throwing power being limited, somehow he's either getting a lot of yak, or Jalen Hurts is clearly hitting people 15 yards down the field or 10 yards down the field, and they're getting 3 to 5 after that. Either way, it's pretty impressive. Another one, not surprisingly, but just talking about how you named me, I'm going to name you as well. Derek Carr, Big Money Derek. Mike FML kind of gave him that name, and it might stick because the way you're playing with him is money. He's 7 touchdowns to 4 picks, also completing 75% of his passes for also 273 yards. And you're throwing for 13 yards an attempt as well with a high QBR. So, and you have taken the least amount of sacks out of the guys that I've kind of named and seen so far also. So you're getting the ball out. Looks like you're playing good football. And then last one, I'll just say Matt passed up Freight Train. I know we were talking about him. I know it's off topic, completely off topic, but Matt passed up Freight Train with Derrick Henry, a guy that he could have rode all cycle, and the ability that everybody says they love. And we saw what Dean is doing, and I'm going to give him a shout out with Tannehill as well. Tannehill's kept the turnovers down. He's got 123 QBR. Looks like he's doing pretty well, and that could have been Matt right there.
No, definitely. Matt getting 2 shout outs. Sorry, Matt. I got to say, Big Money Derek is a lot better than No Money Mond. But I have one more, just looking at some numbers here. Paulie went from the GOAT, Tom Brady, not prime, to Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones. And right now he's sitting at 3-0. He's kind of playing a game manager role, not a lot of passing attempts, but only 8 incompletions through 3 games. So he's completing 83% of his passes. He only has 3 touchdowns, but there are no interceptions from Daniel Jones through 3 games. So taking care of the football, playing efficiently through the air, and kind of letting Saquon eat a little bit while taking advantage of the matchup advantage he has in Evan Ingram at tight end. So just a quick shout out there after Paulie had a somewhat controversial final season in Tampa Bay before the restart with Tom Brady. So I think we got enough out of that topic. Don't want to list the whole league off. Just go through every quarterback. But it is, like I said, we've played 3 or 4 games a person. So still early this season, but wanted to do some almost quarter season report cards. So is there a user, 2 or 3, however many you want, if you want to hand out some letter grades so far with their new team?
Yeah, let me take a look at the standings. Do you have anybody off the top of your head?
I do. and he took some crap from the Bushwhackers. Always looking for a fight, just beating everyone down all the time. But I'm gonna go in my division, so this could come back to haunt me. But Coop being 0-4 with the Chiefs is pretty surprising to me. He was playing some decent football in Jacksonville. I know that division before the restart wasn't the best, and oftentimes it was like who could limp into the playoffs, but it was usually him. He would always find a way to. I think he found a way both seasons in that version of the SML. And to start 0-4 with the Chiefs is just unacceptable to me. I know they don't have a lot of defensive pieces, and that seems to be the issue. He's allowing 34 points a game, and he's played some good teams. I'll give him that. He's played Meats and Bomber, who are both 4-0. He played you're 3-1, and he played Dump. So 4 good players, certainly, but I mean, 0-4 with the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. That'll always get an F letter grade from me. So, sorry, Coop. You can take it out on me coming up here in Week 10. But so far through the season, I'm going to have to give you an F.
Yeah, I'm going to go with, for a low grade, then I'm going to have to go with a really good team with a solid user who just made the NFC Championship game in NYT in the Cardinals. He's 1-2 so far. He hasn't played his 4th week, so we don't know what the record is going to look like just yet. But 1-2 with the Cardinals, and I think that he had some that he could have beat. I think that there are some games that I didn't see off the top of my head, but just there's no excuse with the Cardinals, especially with a user like him, a former Super Bowl representative. He's been a NFC or conference champion representative a few times, and just having a losing record in a conference in a division that everybody kind of expected him to dominate. He's starting off slow, and it looks like one of his losses was to TTS, terrible 14-24, and then he lost to Double Rice No Bean as well by 10. So he has a couple games coming up, a couple division games coming up, but right now I'm gonna have to give him a D for being the Cardinals and not having a winning record, especially with maybe some of the opponents he's played.
Yeah, I have a D of my own to give out here, and that's going to be to Woods up in Buffalo. You have Josh Allen. He's obviously the main reason you take that team. He has all these great abilities, the 99 throw power. Saw what Faz was doing with them before the restart, and Woods is limping out of the gate, starting 1-2. His win came against the 0-4 Washington football team by 1 point. Outside of that, he has losses to Mike and losses to Spades to start the season. That's not good enough for what you have on the Bills, and he's in a winnable division with Mike, KJ, and Fig, although Mike just beat the living hell out of Prime. But a division that'll likely not be clinched early on, or at least not. I don't really think we have a firm grasp on who's going to win that quite yet. So there's time to rebound, Woods, and you do have 1 win in your first 3. I know starting with a new team can always be difficult, so that's why this isn't an F, but got to turn the season around pretty quickly here. I know there's rumors of retirement, which I hope aren't true, but if this is going to be the last ride, make it count.
Yeah, I'm going to give out an F in the same division, NFC West. I'm going to stay there, and it's going to be Tiny. Not to confuse the two, but Tiny started out hot. He blew Clink out in the first week, and there was a chance that Tiny was going to look really good because it's a new team, fresh start, weaker division. And since then, he's dropped 3 in a row, and he's gotten blown out in 2 of those 3. And the problem is it doesn't get easier. He plays NYT next, where one of those 2 have to get a win because they're both probably, spiraling down, and they both probably feel backs against the wall. But then after that, he's got Prime. He's got to play NYT again. So Tiny being 1-3, he's got to get an F. He's the Niners. He's got a really good team. And he's a bit of in my opinion, I don't know, maybe it's just biased because the way we play each other. But his defense as a user and his defense in general is too good as a user with the Niners roster to be getting blown out the way he does, and kind of he's giving up 37, 42, 30. Like, it's just too much. And for a guy that I respect defensively. So I got to give Tiny an F.
Yeah, we're some mean teachers here. We have a
Yeah.
certain quota we have to reach. We have to pass a certain amount of students. So I am gonna hand out an A here. And I'm looking at Tennessee, double rice, no bean. Um, First of all, I approve of that Chipotle order. No beans for me as well. But if you look at what he's doing, he's scoring 39 a game through his first 3 games. He's sitting at 3-0. He's beaten Prime. So that's always a big win. He beat NYT and the Cardinals. And he doubled up Spooky up in Seattle. It's a good start to the season. The Titans fell pretty far in the draft, I think, for pretty good reason. They have Derrick Henry with Freight Train, as we've already mentioned, but outside of that, not a lot of super buildable Madden pieces. Kind of a hard team to build and play with, but Double Rice is definitely taking advantage of the situation and playing to their full potential. So I'm going to give him a shout out here, give him an A. But, midterms are coming up, so make sure you keep studying.
I'm going to give the old Pastor Dan an A as well. I'll stick with the A category. As the Falcons, I don't think I've ever seen them successful since I've joined. I've been in, I think, 9 seasons now, or 10 seasons, or 9 seasons, and I don't think I've ever seen the Falcons even better than 3 games above 500. And Dan already off to the hot start. He's 3-1. He makes do with Ryan. He looks really good with Matt Ryan. I'm going to give him an 8. Although his points for and points allowed is just a 5-point gap, which lets he, as usual, is a great game time manager, very clutch. Probably his fourth quarter drives. I can imagine if we kept that stat, they would be pretty high because he seems to be winning in close games. So I'll give Dan an A to start the quarter.
Yeah, I think that's well deserved. I think that's all the letter grades I had. Anyone else that you wanted to grade here?
Nothing that comes to mind. I'd say Monty. I guess Monty's 3-1 with the Bengals, doing pretty well, keeping afloat. Obviously tied with me and Spades. We're all 3-1, while Bombers 4-0. So I'd say Monty gets a good grade. I don't have a grade for him. I'd probably give him a 30 shots because that's what he takes those like nothing. So I say Monty, high grade.
Yeah, you give me 3 shots and I'm uninterested. So keep those heading his way. All right, I think that's all we had to discuss here today. I know there's some football on, so I'm not going to hold you too long. Anything you have to say as the new Ravens owner?
I miss Detroit, and I miss my guy Justin Herbert. I'll never forgive Meats. That's it. I don't like Baltimore. Not my style.
I didn't like playing you in Baltimore, so while you might not like it, I think it's going to end pretty well for you there.
Hopefully.
Las Vegas, let's just keep hitting the blackjack tables and hope we get lucky.
Hey.
But thank you all for listening. It's been Flying High, and we'll talk to you all soon. Best of luck to everyone, and Merry Christmas.
Yes, sir.